Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dodds. Just checking in with you this week. We are in week 9. Can you believe it? More than halfway there. Your interview recordings and your notes are due today, so make sure that you get those in. And this week you'll be learning more about including families in the IEP process and the evaluation process and how all of that works and what are the legal requirements and how can we make it more successful for parents to be involved in that process because they have a lot of really amazing information and we should value that, right? So parents are their child's first teachers, so we're going to make sure that they are fully involved in all aspects of IEP planning, from identification of students and assessment of students for special education services through to placement and supports and services and accommodations and modifications, all of those things. Parents will have a lot of insight about what works for their child, and that can only be a help to us as educators. They should also be actively involved in the selection of the appropriate environment for their child to learn. So, you know that we go through the IEP process and we should discuss all the supports and services, accommodations and modifications. All of that should be discussed. Whether the student needs any sort of assistive technology. And assistive technology, guys, it's from the most basic thing like pencil grips and slant boards all the way up to screen readers, AAC devices, all of those things. And that should be discussed for each student at every IEP meeting. It's something that districts like to gloss over because when they think of assistive technology, they think of really expensive sorts of things. But anything that a child needs to support their learning and to adapt any materials, it can be considered assistive technology. And we should be writing it in there because if that child moves from one classroom to the next, we want to make sure that they're getting everything that they need. So that needs to be spelled out in this document. Yes. But all of these things should be discussed first. And then the last thing that we discuss and we make a team decision, and parents are part of the team, the last thing that should happen is a discussion about placement, learning setting. Where are they doing their learning each day? And families should be provided with a description of the continuum of settings that are available within a district if they're moving into a district school. And that continuum should really be discussed in relation to the least restrictive environment for that child. So we know that in theory, the least restrictive environment for every learner is the general education classroom. Now, there are students who, for a lot of different reasons, the general education setting is not appropriate for them. They need something that is more restrictive than that in order to access learning. So children who may have profound intellectual disabilities or have multisensory disabilities where they're deaf-blind, they may need a more a smaller setting with more intensive instruction delivered by a really well-trained special educator. Yes, there are those circumstances, but for many students transitioning in, especially transitioning into preschool, we need to discuss this full array of possible placements rather than just because a child has an IEP that they're going to go to a segregated setting or that they're going to go to what may be defined as an inclusive setting, but the ratios might be 50-50 where you've got 10 kids with disabilities and 10 kids without. We need to talk about all the options that are available. really thinking about the least restrictive environment being the classroom in their neighborhood school that they would go to even if they did not have a disability. Now, not every school district has preschool classrooms, so that makes things a little bit more challenging. But we should be talking about that and really having the parents weigh in on what they want for their child and what they think will work best for their child. Sometimes parents don't know. So who's there to advocate for that child? Who's there to provide them with the information that they need and the research that they need around what's best for kids with disabilities as far as learning environment? What do we know from the research? Well, we do know that students who are educated in inclusive settings have long-term, have better academic achievement. And that really goes for the full continuum of students with disabilities. It's not just students who have more of the mild disabilities. It means that students who have an intellectual disability also will continue and achieve more and have more academic success if they're fully included or spend a lot more of their time in the general education environment accessing the general education curriculum. So is that something that you feel comfortable advocating for? We don't always. I mean, sometimes the climate at our school is not really conducive to inclusion, and we may not want to mention that during a meeting, but we may provide training to our families to let them know about inclusion because they may not know that that is even something that's available. And a lot of the times, placement is decided before the meeting, and that's really not necessarily appropriate. I know that schools want to be able to predict which classrooms are going to fill up, which ones are going to have room, and da 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 da, but it's really not appropriate. That final decision is a team decision, and the parents are part of the team, so they should really be included in that. So these are things for you to think about. And then you're going to be looking at some case scenarios this week and thinking about the 7 principles of partnership. So make sure that you're reading your text. You've got 2 chapters to read this week, 9 and 10, and that'll prepare you to do your 7 principles of partnership. I do want to apologize. I've had some family issues, and I'm really behind on grading for this class. And I'm just asking for a little bit of Slack to be able to catch up. I'm going to do my very best to catch up on the grading in the next couple of days. But this is a difficult time for all of us, and we're all just doing our best. Even professors are just doing their best to get through the day. So I hope that you're taking good care of yourself. Get outside. The weather's nice and cool now, and we can get outside. And I've got my windows open today, so you probably hear a little car noise in the background, but I'm enjoying watching the cats looking out the windows and sniffing that fresh air, and knowing that I'm not paying for air conditioning today sounds really good to me. So hopefully you've got something going for you that's making you smile, and I will see you next week.